Hello again. Welcome. Good morning. How are you today? How's everything going? How are things? How are you doing? It's a pleasure to see you again so early in the morning, eh? Although a lot of people watch me on the internet. Yes, RTV a la carta. Baugan RTV a la carta. And you can watch me any time of the day or night, and you can go back and watch program number 1, program 100, 200, 300, etc. You can jump around. You're saltando uno a otro. You can jump around. You can jump around and watch different programs. You can watch me get old. Yeah, tienen 5 años de mi envejecimiento. They're watching me get older and older and older. Yeah, this happens with some people. Johnny Carson, I remember, a very famous late night, similar to Buenafuente here, you know, late night. And from 1962 to 1991, we watched him get gray hair. He was a pro, the best in the world, the best in history, Johnny Carson. All right, would rather, from yesterday. I'd rather be a hammer than a nail, yes I would. I'd rather, preferiría ser martillo que clavo, claro. I would. Los nativos hacemos la contracción I'd, pero no lo recomiendo para los hispanohablantes porque os cuesta horror es que no sale, nunca. I'd, porque la dureza es la de I'd, he'd, wed, we'd. I'd rather, pero es lo que vas a oír. I would rather. I'd rather be a hammer than a nail, yes I would, if I could. I'd rather be a sparrow than a snail. Preferiría ser gorrión a ser caracol. I'd rather be a sparrow, como Jack Sparrow de la película, ¿no? You know, with Johnny Depp, is Jack Sparrow, is Jack Gorrión. Jack Sparrow. I'd rather be a sparrow than a snail. Snail es caracol, como clavo o como uña, con ese delante. Yeah, si las caracoles tuvieran uñas, the snail's nails, like the bee's knees, las rodillas de las abejas, the bee's knees. I have 2 knees. The bees don't have knees, I think, but we say, that's the bee's knees, eso es genial. Genial, wow, me encanta. That's the bees. Esos lápices para mí son the bee's knees. I love these pencils. They're the bee's knees. Son las rodillas de las abejas. The bee's knees, okay. But the snail's nails. I'd rather. Richard, yes. Would you rather give this program or this class in the morning or in the evening? Oh, I'd rather do this program at prime time. Prime time. Yeah. I don't know. What is prime time in Spain? 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. After dinner, people watch television. That's prime time. I would love to have this program on prime time. I would love to have an interview program to interview people in English, important Spanish people, and I interview them. All right, in English. That would be fun. Marta and I have spoken about that, I can see. But maybe in our next life. I'd rather live 50 years in good health than 100 years in bad health. Yes, I'd rather have 10 children than no children. Would you rather have 10 children or no children? I think Marta would rather have no children. 10 children is too many. Me, no. Yeah, because I'm the father. It's the mother's problem, right? It's the mother's problem. No. When you have 10 children, or 5 children, you change your strategy and your approach. Que se peleen. Y crecen bien. They figure out. They become more independent because they figure out how to defend themselves in life better. If you have only 1 child, like Victor, you have the mother, the father, the grandmother, the grandfather, the grandmother, the grandfather. 6 people focusing on 1 little boy. All right. So it's more difficult not to spoil the child. To spoil, escrito spoil, como suena spoil, significa estropear. Significa echar a perder cuando es comida. It's spoiled. Spoiled. Throw it away. It's spoiled. But to spoil a child is malcriar por consentimiento y consentir. And then the child grows up considering himself the center of the world. And that's very difficult to avoid if it's an only child. My father was an only child. And my grandfather was a very good father. And I think my grandmother was a good mother too. However, he was an only child. And he was a very good man, my father, excellent person. But there were moments I noticed, and my mother noticed, that he couldn't adapt easily because he, deep inside, muy adentro, he was the center of the universe, you see. And so you notice that with my father a little bit. A bit self-centered at moments. But he was a fantastic person. But in any case, I would rather, I'd rather teach English than be a lawyer if I had to choose. In my next life, what would you rather do in your next life? Work as a lawyer? A trabajar de abogado. All right, work as a lawyer or work as an English teacher? English teacher. Okay. What would you rather be in your next life? What would you rather be? Would you rather be an English teacher or a process engineer? Process engineer? Yeah, ingeniero de tiempos, métodos y procesos. Fabriles. Oh, I'd rather be a process engineer. Really? You would rather be a process engineer than an English teacher? Yeah. Why? Because a process engineer is very creative. How to bring down the costs of production. How to improve productivity. New methods. Yes, different processes. The sky is the limit on improving. So there's a lot of creativity in process engineering. I know because I have friends and I have watched process engineers working. And it's fascinating. There's always a better way. Siempre hay una manera más mejor. Pero hay que encontrarla. You have to find it. There's always a better way. So, in my next life, I would rather be a process engineer than an English teacher. And in your next life, would you rather be a process engineer or a composer of music? Oh, I would rather be a composer. Yeah. That's extraordinary, extremely creative is to be a composer of music. Because music is a language. But it's a language that penetrates the psyche and penetrates the heart. And so if you can develop music that lifts people, it transports people. The spoken word can transport people as well. An eloquent speaker, powerful speaker can transport people, can motivate and inspire. But music can take you to another galaxy, you see. And so yes, I would be, in my next life, definitely. My decision is to be a composer. But if I have a next life, who knows? Richard, do you believe in reincarnation? Yes. What do you want to be in your next life? My mother's dog. My mother treated her dogs like kings. So, nobody lives a better life que los perros de mi madre. Uf, qué vida se pegan. My mother's dogs. And then a composer. Would you rather have $1 million or £1 million? I'd rather have £1 million than $1 million. Why? Why would you rather have £1 million? Libras esterlinas, sterling pounds. Why would you rather have 1 million sterling pounds than $1 million? Because £1 million are worth more than $1 million. About 30 or 40% more than $1 million. And would you rather have €1 million or $1 million? Right now, I'd rather have €1 million. It's about €1 million is worth about 8% more than $1 million. But you never know. It can go like that. What we call the parity, la paridad, in las monedas, las divisas, the parity in currencies. Currency escrito. Currency, C-Y. Currency es la moneda o las divisas. You know, the dollar, the euro, the yen, the yuan, the, the peso, the Argentine peso, the Mexican peso, the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, the sterling pound, the British pound. These are currencies, yes. And then we have the petrodollars, dollars for oil. These are currencies, yes. I would rather have €1 million than $1 million right now. All right. And is the dollar going up or going down? I don't know. Do you follow the currencies? No, I don't. Do you follow the stock market? I follow the U.S., the U.S. Stock Exchange, the New York Stock Exchange. I follow that, but only once a day, looking at the Dow Jones, the index, once a day to see what the index is. And what's the index yesterday? I don't know. The market closed yesterday. A ver si me lo dicen, porque I have. How did the market close yesterday? 38,000, the Dow, because the most important index in the New York Stock Exchange is the S&P, Standard and Poor's. Strange. The S&P is the most important index porque son 500 valores, 500 securities. And so it's a more reliable index. The Dow Jones are only 30, but the 30 blue chip, most important companies, similar to the IBEX, no sé qué here. All right. Yesterday, the market went up $574. $575. Toma. Ha subido mucho. Subió yesterday. It went up a lot yesterday. But it fluctuates. All right. Richard, yeah. Are you investing now in the New York Stock Exchange? No, I'm not. Have you ever invested in the New York Stock Exchange? Yes, I have. Would you rather invest in the New York Stock Exchange or in the Spanish Stock Exchange? Oh, that's easy. I would rather invest in the New York Stock Exchange. Why? Because I'm a small fish. Yeah? I'm a small fish. Soy un pez pequeño. Okay. And the New York Stock Exchange is como el Océano Pacífico. It's incredibly big. And a small fish in the Pacific Ocean is more or less safe. There are big fish in the Pacific Ocean, but the ocean's very big. And for the big fish to see me in the Pacific Ocean is very difficult. Now, in the Spanish Stock Exchange, it's a small ocean. Es como el mar de la manga menor. All right. The Mar Menor de la Manga, okay. La Manga del Mar Menor. Jesus, I can't say it right. Okay. And it's a small market. And a small fish in a small ocean, the big fish see it instantly. You die. You understand? So if you're in a small body of water and you're a small fish, you're in greater danger than if you're a small fish in a big ocean. You understand? You understand? And so I prefer the New York Stock Exchange because I'm not rich. So if I invest, I'm a small investor. And the small investors sometimes don't receive the same benefits as the big investors. Okay. And sometimes can be absorbed and lose certain rights. But in any case, would you rather use that microphone or that other microphone? Well, if that microphone worked, I would rather use that. Si funcionara, preferiría usar esa. I would rather use that microphone if it worked, but it doesn't work. So I have to use this one. Would you rather Yeah. I'd rather do it myself. I'd rather do this program alone than with students. We could do the program, change the table, and put student A and student B with maybe 2 cameras or 3 cameras. Very dynamic. Marta or Juanita, tell Blas to ask me how long I've been teaching English, bam, 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 and have a dynamic class. But I'd rather do it by myself. I enjoy being alone. I enjoy solitude. So I would rather. Okay, what would you rather do? What would you rather? Would you rather speak perfect Italian or perfect German? Which would you rather? I have pills at home. You can take a German pill. After 20 minutes, sprechen Sie Deutsch? Perfect. Hochdeutsch. High German. Perfect. I have Italian pills, Chinese pills, Turkish pills. Would you rather? Look, I have in my pocket, I have 4 pills. I have Italian pill, I have a German pill, I have a Russian pill, and I have a Chinese pill. I'll give you one for free. Would you rather have the Italian? Would you rather have the German? Would you rather have the Chinese? Or would you rather have the Russian pill? Which one would you rather have? In my case, I'd rather speak perfect Italian. But Chinese is very important. Russian is very important. And German, it doesn't matter. I like Italian. I think it's a nice language. I would like to speak Italian very well. Yes, so I would take the Italian pill. If the Italian pill cost, si costara, if the Italian pill cost 100,000 euros, would you buy it? Yes, I would. Would you? Would you? No, pagarías 100,000 euros. Soltarías 100,000 euros. The bank will give you a loan. I would buy it definitely. I would pay 100,000 euros to speak perfect Italian. Yes, even if I had to go to the bank and ask for a loan, a loan. So I would ask for a loan. I would ask for, pedir un préstamo. I would ask for a loan. Escrito loan. Suena como solitos, a loan. A loan. I would ask for a loan, if necessary, to buy the Italian pill to speak perfect Italian. Would you buy a German pill for 100,000? Probably, yeah. But it's becoming too much money. All right. But if there were only one pill, only one pill exists, a German pill, I would buy it. That's an interesting question. If only one pill existed, solamente existiera una pastilla de alemán, para saber alemán. If only a German pill existed, you could take the pill and speak perfect German for the rest of your life, 100,000 euros, I would buy it. And if, instead of German, if it were a Russian pill, I would buy it. A Japanese pill, I would buy it. I would buy it. An Arabic pill, hablar árabe, of course I would buy it. A Portuguese pill, yeah, I would buy it. For Portugal and Brazil, yeah, I would buy it. And a Turkish pill, hablar turco, yeah, I would buy it. 90 million people, at least 80 million people speak Turkish. More, I think. It's an important language. And a Hindi pill, hablar Hindi, the common language in India. No, because the Indians of the Brahmin, the 2 top castes, India is still very subject to the caste system. They speak English, almost native English. So I wouldn't need to speak Hindi to speak to at least 200 million or 300 million Indians speak English very, very well. So no, I wouldn't pay 100,000 euros for the Hindi pill. And for the Spanish pill, no. I already know Spanish. Yeah, I already know Spanish. Sí pagaría para saber diferenciar ser y estar. To be. Soy un ser humano o un estar humano? I can't remember. Sería estar. That's terrible. Of course, you have the problem with make and do. Cuando uso make, cuando do? Well, we have the same thing. Sería estar. Okay. You say, estoy de acuerdo, okay, estoy a favor de tu plan. Soy partidario de tu plan. So in one case, estoy, otro soy. But they mean the same thing. All right. It's always frustrating with sería estar. Okay, gain fluency. How much time do we have left, Marta? Not too much. At the top of page 57. Are you ready? 57 at the top. When she bought the dog, she didn't realize that she would have to take it down to the park 3 times a day for 14 years. That's 15,000 walks in the park. At least it's good exercise. Yeah. She bought a dog. And she called me and said, "Hey, Richard." "Hey, yeah." "Oh, hi, Jenny. How's everything?" "Fine. Guess what?" Adivina qué. Se dice mucho en inglés, guess what. ¿A qué no sabes un inglés? Te digo una. Guess what? What? I bought a dog. ¿Has comprado un perro? Yeah. A puppy dog? Yeah. 3 weeks old. 3 semanas. 3 weeks old. It's a very cute little puppy. Well, congratulations. By the way, Jenny, do you realize that you live in a flat? You're going to have to take the dog down to the park 3 times a day. And a dog normally lives 14 years. That's 15,000 times. In the next 14 years, 15,000 times you need to go to the park. "Yeah, Richard, but it's good exercise." All right. People don't realize this when you buy a dog. If you live in a house, no problem. You open the back door in the yard, the dog can, and you put a dog house in the yard, fine. But if you live in a flat or in an apartment, you have to take the poor dog downstairs at least twice a day, recommendable 3 times a day. So, cuando ella compró el perro, no se dio cuenta. When she bought the dog, she didn't realize that she would have to take it down to the park 3 times a day for 14 years. That's 15,000 walks in the park. 15,000 caminatas por el parque. Yeah. 15,000 paseos. 15,000 walks in the park. At least it's good exercise. This is a question that happens often in families with children. 8 years old, 10 years old. "Daddy, Mommy, can you buy a dog?" All right. "Victor quiere un perro?" Does Victor want a dog? No? Okay. I love dogs, by the way. And when I was growing up, I had dogs. But we had a house with a backyard, and the dog could play. No problem. All right. But if the family lives in a flat, the children are going to grow up. In the end, the mother and father will need to take the dog out, to go around the block. Maybe not to the park, but to walk around the block. Because where I live in the center of Madrid. And when I go out, sometimes on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, I wake up early, 6:30, and so I decide to go out and take a walk. And I see men, más que mujeres, hombres, maybe 55 years old, out with the dog, walking around. I don't know. So remember that when you buy a dog. 15,000 times. When she bought the dog, she didn't realize that she would have to take it down to the park at least have to take it down to the park 3 times a day for 14 years. That's 15,000 walks in the park. Eso suma 15,000 paseos. That's 15,000 walks in the park. At least it's good exercise. At least, por lo menos, at least it's good exercise. One more. We have time for one more, right? Yeah. The elevator where I live broke down, and it took a month to fix it. We have people talking outside. Yeah. Can you hear it? Can you hear it? You know, outside here, it says grabando. I can see. But people don't pay attention to it. They stop outside the door, blah, 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 and start blabbering to each other. All right, the elevator where I live broke down, and it took a month in repararlo. And it took a month to fix it. During that time, I walked up 5 stories 3 times a day. It's like climbing the Eiffel Tower 66 times a year. Subir a la Torre Eiffel 66 veces. Yeah, in 1 month, 3 times a day. I counted the steps, and then I looked into the internet how many steps there are in the Eiffel Tower, and I made a calculation. I said, my God. During that month, I walked up the stairs, the equivalent of going up to the top of the Eiffel Tower 66 times. And I'm still fat. All right, that's it for today. See you tomorrow.